Welcome to the Disrupted Podcast, where we analyze and discuss technology that's changing the world as we know it. I'm your host, Chris Ebe, and today I'd like to welcome Robert Smoot, who is a private real estate and stock market investor. Robert was able to spot the company Tesla early enough and is currently heavily invested in this company. But more importantly, Robert is a very good friend of mine, and over the years, his advice and his guidance has been really helpful. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited for this conversation. But before we get started, could you give us a brief background on who you are?
Yeah. First off, thanks for for that introduction. It was really nice. But no, I'm Robert Smoot. I don't know if I can put my last name on there, but so yeah, basically, I'm 31 years old. And after a certain amount of time, you kind of forget how old you are. Once you hit past 30. But yeah, 30 years old. Went to school in North Carolina A&T. Graduated 2014. And I work at Cummins now full time, 9 to 5. But from 5 till bedtime, I'm researching on, moving towards financial independence. And that's pretty much how my day goes. You work, go to the gym, and then you look into potential investments.
Nice, nice. So I'm sure most of us can relate to that, myself included. So Tesla, could you take us back to the beginning? Like at what point were you convinced that Tesla was going to play a huge role in this new world we're going to transition into?
Yeah, back to the beginning. Wow. You said that I was one of the early investors in Tesla. I'll have to say that's not accurate. I didn't get in on Tesla until 2019. So the OG guys who started back at their IPO, those are the ones who saw the future of Tesla from the beginning. I just kind of got in on the back end. And for me, originally, I was all about finding financial independence and kind of removing myself from that paycheck life. I know when I first started my working career, we were never taught that, hey, when you get this cash, you're supposed to save it, invest it, and use that to build towards a future. Yes, they say get a retirement, but that's mostly passive investing, and you're not really actively managing, what investments you choose.
True.
So
True.
for myself, it was like, hey, you got your little retirement, and the leftover money would just go towards, whatever caught my eye. And something hit me. I don't want to get into details too much on that, but something hit where I was like, whoa, this is not the way to go. I should not have to rely on a single source of my income. I need to find out what I can do to step away from that point. So, as any new investor, you start off with what you know. I did just saving my monthly checks and a certain percentage, put that into savings. After so many years of savings, you see it build up and say, hey, I got a little bit of cash. What's next? Well, then you start in real estate, because that's just the natural path of what normal people or what most people are told.
Sure.
And I followed down that path.
Sure.
And it wasn't until July of 2019 when I first heard about Tesla as an investment opportunity. I learned it from Rich Rebuilds. He did a podcast with Joe Rogan. And
Nice.
he was just talking about, the good things about the company and also the bad. And there were some bad, but if you look past all the superficial things and you look at the company fundamental wise, they've got, I guess they've got a good leader and they're moving in the right direction.
They do.
And after a while, you start to go into like, hey, what else can I learn about this company? And, it just starts to open up from there. And that's where you wake up and most of your savings is into Tesla. So
yeah, I guess some of us can relate to that. But that's actually a really good background. I think that's really interesting. But you said you started in June of 2019. Is that correct?
July
of 2019. Okay. So that means you were invested in Tesla around March, where it bottomed due to the COVID crash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I believe Tesla fell about what, 65-70% back then at the bottom?
I know pre-split, it went to about $360.
And that was
Somewhere
from
around that. Yeah.
that was from a high of $90 of $900 pre-split.
No. So that was if you split it by five, that would be wait, no, what do you mean?
No, pre-split.
Yeah,
So
so before it jumped five times, or one share was equivalent to five Tesla, it was
correct,
$300.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So it fell down to 360, but from what top? What was the top it fell from?
Okay, so it was like $900.
900. Okay, yeah. That was around the time I started watching Tesla too, but I still wasn't convinced back then yet on Tesla. But I was kind of watching the stuff because I thought it was interesting how fast it was going up. But so how did the crash affect your mentality? Because being invested in Tesla and then watching your wealth drop, what, 65, 70%? How did that affect your investing mentality?
And it definitely tests you.
I bet it
I
did.
was already slightly tested. In 2018, I had started investing.
Mhm.
And I took my little bit of cash, strung that together, and bought Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and it was Netflix was one of them. And I had them. Everything was looking good, and then the crash in 2018 at the end of the year happened.
Wow.
And I watched it drop for the first time, and I didn't know how to handle it. It was too much for me, so I pulled all my money out.
Bad decision.
Oh boy, was it! So it was almost a quarter of the value that it is today when I started in 2018.
Wow.
And it was a learning experience. It was one of those, slap your slap on the wrist or whatever, so to speak, for investing. And so, and during the March crash, I was out like negative $7,000 or something along that. It was a lot for me at the time. And my friend sent me a picture of the S&P 500 over the last 50 years. And every time there was a dip, there was also a gain or a recovery. Every single dip had a recovery, and the normal path was up and to the right. Regardless of what happens, that's the direction that it goes. And the more time you look into that, the more time you look into individual companies, you see that as long as they continue to execute, their share price will show. And and I just sat with that. I told myself every day before I went to bed, and hey, nothing is happening fundamentally with this company that I've chosen. So over time, this will be a thing of the past. So that was one of the biggest things that helped me stay strong, where I guess the trend is now diamond hands now. So.
Diamond hands. Yeah, I like that. I like that one. But yeah, I feel like all new investors can relate to that. To just the fear you had back in 2018 when you saw the crash and you were just starting off. I was kind of lucky. So I never really looked into the stock market till around the bottom of March of 2020. So I was kind of lucky because that was when I started, and my accounts has shown that. So I was lucky, but again, what I tell people is the best time to start investing is 20 years ago. Okay, the second best time is now.
Right.
So for anyone who hasn't started yet, you got to start now.
Yeah.
You have to. I feel like a lot of minorities especially don't really know what the stock market is. They don't really take it seriously. So that's kind of one of the premises of this podcast, to kind of educate people on how the world is changing and how to be a part of this new changing world, how to transition from the old world into the new world. But anyways, so Tesla as a company and as a stock. So this is a two-part question right now. So what is the company doing? What is the business doing right now? And also, what is the stock doing?
Right now, the company's biggest objective is to convert the world to sustainable energy.
Yep.
And their first step forward for that is to move the automotive space. If you have automotive transportation that is sustainable, then you can move that to, say, your shipping, say, energy consumption, and everything will just fall in place from there. And you said as a company, that's pretty much what their goal is. Hey, how can we get renewable energy? How can we use renewable resources to fuel our travel, so to speak? And so that's what they're doing fundamentally. And everything else When you kind of peel back layers and you'll see, okay, so in order to do that, you have to have this kind of execution, or you have to do these type of things. And they just go down the list. What was your next point?
The stock, same question, but about the stock.
The stock it's different. And in all honesty, I'm not too concerned with what the stock is doing today. Now, if it drops, if there's a large dip, then yeah, it's a buying opportunity. But for me, it's always been how this company will perform, and the stock will reflect that 5 to 10 years from now. And it's because if you're concerned with what the stock is doing today, you're not an investor. You're a gambler, and it's okay, and that's okay. If you want to gamble, perfectly fine, enjoy it, but don't say that you're an investor. And another thing with the stock today is a lot of people don't understand what it is. Like if you were to go and ask a regular person on the streets, you say, "Hey, what is Tesla to you?" And they'll say, "Well, it's a luxury manufacturer. They only build fast cars, shiny cars, and things like that." And so they don't understand it. So when they look at Tesla and they say, "Oh, this company builds cars, and last year they built 500,000." It's like, wait a minute. Other car companies are building that in a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not correlating. It's not adding up to me. So I'm going to stay away from it. And traditionally, it's perfectly fine. However, for this company, I urge you to do your research on it, spend some time and look into the company and figure out what exactly they're doing. And once you do that, you'll understand that the stock is not valued the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, that will come to, or I guess it'll reflect that appropriate valuation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's kind of like back in, I believe, 2014 till 2019, like the stock pretty much stayed still, while Tesla was growing at about 50-60% compounded yearly growth, but the stock stayed still. Right. Then 2019, boom, exploded. Yeah. I believe between 2019 and 2020, it went up like more than 10x. So I feel like that's kind of what it's doing now. Right now, the stock is going slow. However, Tesla, the company, is still growing. They are still growing. Last year, like you said, was 500K vehicles. This year, just the first quarter alone was about 187K. I believe they're on pace maybe to get to 1 million this year. We'll see how that goes. They might not. I know that's a huge stretch. I kind of feel like it's doable. It's very doable, but we'll see. But I feel like this conversation leads me right to the next question, which is the different business units of Tesla. Like you said, most people think it's just a car company. They don't understand it's a lot more. So could you like go in depth a little bit about the different business units of Tesla and how they all work together as a company?
That's a lot of pressure there.
I know. My bad. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
Yeah, first and foremost, I will not sit up here and say I'm a Tesla expert. There are a lot of things about this company that I do not understand. And however, what I do know is the more time I put into it, the more I'll learn. And I encourage anyone, say if you don't like Tesla, that's perfectly fine. If you're saying, hey, I don't want to touch it, I don't believe in it, perfectly fine with me. However, any company that you choose to invest in, you take your time to figure out what they do.
Due diligence.
I didn't want to say due diligence.
yeah, to get it out of your mouth. Yeah. Well, yeah, keep going.
A lot of Reddit influence here.
Yep.
But yeah, due diligence. You have to do that, because if you don't, you'll end up seeing a dip in the stock price, and you'll say, "Oh gosh, it's going to go to zero. I'm out." But in reality, there's things that are out of your control that's happening short term, not long term. Definitely short. And so as far as what the company does, I like to break it down into these major areas. There is an automotive aspect to it. There's also an energy aspect to it. And then you also have the software aspect to it. So the automotive is strictly building vehicles. What is it? Metal parts come in one side, vehicles come out the other. Simple as that. The next step is the energy portion. So again, if you want to transition the world to sustainable energy, you have to have some sort of energy generation. And it
Yep.
turns out the most powerful energy generator is free, and that's the sun. And so their plan is to tap into that. And how are they going to tap into that? Well, through two main things, solar and battery packs. And there's different types. You can get one, it's like a power wall for the house. And there's like a power pack, or I'm not sure of the correct nomenclature of the name for it, but it's a power pack for, say, businesses that, say if Fifth Third Bank wants to purchase a power wall type system, but for their building, it will be a power pack. And then say if a city or an entire township wants to build a large energy source for their area, it'll be called a mega pack. And so that's the battery and energy portion. And then you have the software portion, which kind of has its hand in both of those situations, where in automotive, the software is being able to do automatic or updates over the air. When you buy a 2005 vehicle, no matter what happens, it's always going to be a 2005 vehicle with 2005 technology.
Sure.
Today, if you buy a 2017, 2018 vehicle or a 2017, 2018 Tesla, in 2020, 2022, 2020, whatever, it's going to have the latest and greatest technology, pending, if the hardware can handle it. And so that's the software portion on the automotive part. Then you get to the energy portion. There's something called an auto bidder, which allows you to communicate between your solar panel, your power source or your battery packs, and the actual grid. And this is where things get a bit fuzzy as far as the explanation, but the way it works is it's almost like energy arbitrage, where the system knows that power is most expensive during this time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, during that time, it's going to pull energy from the batteries that were charged during the least expensive time of the day. And so, you're using your energy for a couple cents a kilowatt hour compared to 10, 20 cents a kilowatt hour, depending on, the rates that you have. And then lastly, and the biggest and most important part of their software is the full self-driving.
Oh yeah.
I watched a lot of videos on full self-driving, and the basics of it is they use cameras all around the vehicle to monitor its surroundings. And they use, I guess you would say, machine learning or the software portion to navigate its way in a safe manner with its prime directive of not hitting anything. Yep. And that's pretty much, it's as simple as that. Is it finished today? No. I was talking to my cousin, and I asked, hey, if they release these full self-driving vehicles, would you ride in it? The first thing he said was no. That's understandable. I would be weary as well. But over time, it's going to get to a point where full self-driving or the software that they have is better than a human.
I agree. It's crazy how people are more emotional than logical, because logic tells you the Tesla car has X amount of cameras, right? It has cameras, it has radar, it has sensors, it has all that stuff, right? But as humans, as human drivers, we only have two sensors right in front of our faces. That's all that controls our driving, obviously.
Compared to ears too.
we do. But I'm saying,
I'm giving you a hard time. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah, I know. I'm saying everything is based on our reaction as humans. If you take that away and leave that up to software, I feel like software will definitely be more efficient than we are over time. Obviously, I don't know if we're there yet as far as the software, but I know we're headed towards there. And I can relate to neural networks because again, I don't know if you know this, I went to college in Tennessee, and I got my master's degree there, and part of my thesis was using neural networks, artificial intelligence, to predict the amount of charge in a battery. That was my thesis. So I used a lot of neural networks. So I have a decent understanding of how it works. And the thing about neural networks is it's terrible until it's perfect. What do I mean by that? if you have to train the network, okay, you have to give it information, give it a bunch of data. Okay, the more data you give it, the better. The more dynamic data you give it, the better. Don't give it like stupid data, like data of a car driving on a highway with no cars on there. Give it data in the most curviest of roads, the most packed of roads, and just keep training it.
Mhm.
And it gets to a point where the neural network pretty much starts training itself. Okay, it's learned so much, it's now training itself. It doesn't even need the engineer or whatever to bring you more data because it's been so trained, it's figuring out everything else on its own. So that's how I see this transition going. Okay, now we might not be 100% there, but I definitely believe that's in the next few years. In the next few short years, we are gonna get there. But anyways, so it's crazy what Tesla is doing as a company. It's very crazy. The vision to accelerate the world's transition to a sustainable energy, I feel that's a big one. That's a big goal to set, and they're on pace to do that and do it better than our expectations. So do you have any predictions for Tesla as a company and Tesla as a stock for the future?
For the future,
Yep.
I mean, you have to be careful because we're kind of speaking to people who don't really understand the company.
Mm,
So I don't want to seem far-fetched, but I will say Tesla as a company will do everything that they can to accelerate the world to sustainable energy. Now, I'm going to leave it at that. How many cars it takes a year to get there, how many solar panels, I don't want to go too far into details on that because you'll start to lose the interest of the people who want to, look into the company.
sure.
And if you're saying, oh, it's going to be all kind of, dogs and cats are getting married, such and such, it's like, all right, this is crazy. I'm checking out. But if you just keep it simple and say, hey, their goal is to accelerate the world to sustainable energy.
Mhm.
They have a plan in place to do this. And if you look over the past, what was it, 2008?
Yep,
The past 12 years, they've executed on those goals.
they have.
And the next 10 years, they will continue to execute. That's important for the company, where it's going in the future. As far as the stock, same thing. Prices go up, prices go down. There's a good YouTuber, he says that every time. I love that. Yes, they go up, they go down.
Yeah, they do.
However, the ones that execute will continue to grow. And if you're curious on what you think the stock will be in 5 years, 10 years, take 2 hours, research the company, figure out what you think their revenue will be in 5 years, figure out how full self-driving will impact the world, and you put a price on it. And then we can discuss that from there. If you want to get into details, there's plenty of people online that will kind of shoot down your theories or build them up.
True.
There's always a place for you, but I don't really want to do that here.
Sure. Yeah, we all have different opinions.
Or hey, it could be for another video. So.
Exactly. So yeah, let's save it for later. We can't give them all our tricks right now, so we gotta save some. But yeah, so I really like your analysis and your opinions on the company. But kind of to conclude this video, do you have any advice for old and new investors, but mostly the new investors? How do we position ourselves for success in this new world we're transitioning into? Can you address this from a perspective of handling the fear of losing money and just from overall general what the stock market really is and how to profit from it?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's another 30-minute video. But
True.
to keep it simple as this, time in the market beats time in the market. Dollar cost average, figure out what that means. Yeah, I'm trying to resist going on rants here, but yeah, you definitely want to spend time researching companies that you believe in, and also when you mentioned your thesis for your master's degree, I knew that you had a master's degree. I didn't know that's what it was in. And so you have a skill that not very many people have. You understand neural nets. You can look at, if someone puts you in a room and say, hey, this is our full self-driving software, what do you think? You can look at it and pick out certain things. I couldn't do it. A lot of other people couldn't do it, but you can, and you can use that to your advantage. Now, the people who are watching this video, sit back, take a moment and think about, hey, what am I skilled at? What field do I work in? And how can I use that to choose companies that I believe in?
Mhm.
And when you understand what a company's doing, you understand their product, BS will kind of go in one ear, go out the other. It'll be like, hey, this isn't true, next, right? Because you can sense that. Like, you can sense when someone's lying to you. You can sense when someone doesn't really know what they're talking about. And if, especially for subjects that you are masters in, and everyone is a master at some sort of craft, you have to find it and you have to use it to your what is it? Your benefit.
Your advantage.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the more I think about it, the more I solidify myself in the importance of doing your own research.
Sure.
Take the time. Netflix isn't going anywhere. On a Friday night,
the stock might.
Stock price. What'd you say?
I said the stock might. Netflix stock.
It's going somewhere. It's going somewhere. But yeah, just think about how you're using your time. Master that. You'll grow. I don't know anyone who spent a good amount of time working towards success and didn't move at least one step closer. So I'll leave it at that.
That is a perfect way to put it. Really good advice. I appreciate it. So yeah, so hopefully we can educate people more on this world we're transitioning into, and hopefully help people make better decisions when it comes to financial management or just handling this new world, because this new world is going to be so dynamic. Hopefully a lot of us are not left behind, a lot of us catch up to this technological revolution. But yeah, that being said, it's been really good having you on here, Robert. Hopefully we can get to do this often and educate more people on this subject. So yeah, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for being on here, Robert, and hopefully I'll see you next week.
All right, take it easy, man.
All right, take care, man.